What's up, guys? Chun is back. I've got a 4th generation standard match for you guys today. This is against ChrisTheMaster717, but he is better known as ChrisTheMaster717. He just recently started a new channel because he's now known as ChrisTheMaster717, but I'll go ahead and leave a link to his channel in the description below. Anyway, guys, I do want to apologize for not uploading anything for a while. I really wanted to finish the Stall Team series without jumping into something else, and Wi-Fi was being really bad today. Well, it'll be today depending on when I get this uploaded. But anyway, I figured I need to go ahead and finish the Stall Team series, and it is done, so I'll be doing the final 2 battles. I'll be uploading the final 2 battles, hopefully within the week or so. And yeah, so guys, be on the lookout for that. Wi-Fi finally does decide to work, so we are gonna go ahead and get started. Second to last match for this Stall Team. He's leading with Swampert, I'm leading with Hippo. We're both gonna set up the rocks here. There's not too much going on. Hippo and Swampert are so similar as far as leads go. The difference is Hippo can heal and Swampert can't, so not a whole lot of action going on there. I do need rocks in case he's got any flyers, as rocks would cripple them if it's something like a Zapdos or a Gyarados, but we both decide to roar at this point, and of course he's faster, so he's gonna roar me into my Spiritomb. And here I just decide I'm gonna go for the Dark Pulse. I did want to try and predict what Pokemon he would switch into and do any fancy predictions this early in the match, because there are so many possibilities with Spiritomb being in, and this is one of them, Heatran. But I knew he was either going to switch or roar again since it was so early. Attacking would be the worst option. But anyway, switching for me is obvious here. I need to gauge what this set is first. I could easily go to my own Heatran to try and get a Flash Fire boost, but a lot of people do that. So what players do is they predict the Heatran switch in by going for the Earth Power. And if he does that, then I figured he's most likely going to be choiced in some way. The worst case scenario is he's choice Specs, which I did fear initially, and that he would go for a Specs Overheat here, but I am going to go into Hippowdon. And he does go for the Earth Power, most likely predicting a Heatran switch in. So Hippowdon, she takes that amazingly well. And judging by the damage, he is most likely Scarfed. Now here, he is going to decide to go to Skarmory, not wanting to risk me getting the one-hit KO with Earthquake. I do predict this and I go for the Roar, just to see what his answer was to Hippowdon. If he stayed in, I could have just slacked off the damage, barring any crits, and he gets the worst possible switch in, Jolteon, so this is basically going to be another free Roar for me, but I'm actually not going to do that. I know he's definitely going to switch, and I expect Skarmory to come back in to try to lay some hazards down since it's still so early in the game. But I just decided to go to my own Heatran here just to keep him guessing, and I don't want to play too obvious, at least not just yet. Now I do reveal leftovers, but Heatran is very versatile as far as what sets it can run, and he doesn't want to risk me going for the obvious Fire Stab, so he is going to go into his Gyarados. I'm guessing he needs several layers to get his strategy going, since Skarmory is a pretty good lead combination, especially for a bulky offensive team such as this one. since basically it lays hazards down and then it just phases you around with Roar and Whirlwind. But I did predict the switch back there, and I did Roar, which is excellent because now the next time Galore comes in, he's going to be at half health. Now here, I do decide to go for the Lava Plume and stop playing obvious, hoping to predict him to predict me to Roar again, and it pays off big. So now I basically don't have to deal with any spikes for the rest of the match, and it'll make Fortress's life easier. He's gonna bring Swampert in on the free switch in. Now things get a little bit tricky because Swampert has basically done his job, and so he's free to attack or roar me around. Now I do decide to go back to Hippowdon. I think about this for a long time though, but I figured even if he predicted the Hippowdon switch in and he went for the Ice Beam, chances are it wouldn't do that much damage, barring an untimely freeze hacks or crit. So he knows that I'm going to switch, not wanting to risk Heatran being one-hit KO'd, and it's still fairly early, so he roars, which was the worst case scenario for me, and Heatran does get dragged back in, which is the worst possible switch in. Really need to get Swampert on a timer by getting Toxic on the field, either with Slowbro or Toxic Spikes with Fortress, but I don't want to get caught in a Roar shuffling game and get out-predicted. So, anywho, I am going to switch out again. I still don't want to take the risk, because I may need Heatran for later, so I'm going to decide to go to Spiritomb, figuring that he wouldn't roar again, and that he would try to predict me to stay in with Heatran this time, and go for the Earthquake instead. And I do think about this for a really long time, whether he's going to roar, or whether he's just going to Earthquake and switch his moves up. So, but I do eventually go to Spiritomb, which ends up being awesome because here he is going to go for the Earthquake, and that's excellent because I am max HP, max defense, as if you guys have watched this series you already know. So I can basically just rest off the damage. Judging by the damage that first Earthquake did, I know I can live 2 and get a rest off. Slowbro might have been better, a better switch in, or I could have gone to Hippowdon again, but I didn't want to be too obvious. But I live with 3 HP, which is awesome, and I am able to rest off all that damage. And I didn't really do any calcs this battle, but it did pay off, and unless he got rolled minimum damage on that first Earthquake, I was pretty sure I could live both. But anyway, back to the battle. After seeing the rest, I guess he figured either damage wasn't going to go anywhere because I could just rest it off, or now he knows my set. I'm gonna bank on the latter because his next move here, he's actually gonna switch to back to Gyarados, and initially I thought this would be a bad switch on his part because I had the whole thought process of, well, what if I stayed in and went for Dark Pulse, or went for a Calm Mind followed by a Dark Pulse. But it turns out it was an excellent switch in on his part. The obvious reason why was because it is bulky Dragon Dance Gyarados, because I saw the leftovers, so it is running Taunt, and Dark Pulse would actually be a 3-hit KO without any boost. So I'm immediately gonna have to switch out because the way isn't clear for a Spiritomb Sweep anyway, so boosting up isn't a good option for me. So I am gonna go to Slowbro, which is the only team member I really have that can take on bulky Gyarados one-on-one. I thought he might possibly go to Heatran actually on Spiritomb, since that's a common switch in, or attack with Swampert, but I mean that's neither here nor there. That was about 2 turns ago. So he surprisingly Dragon Dances up, and I was expecting him to taunt me, so I went straight for the Ice Beam, and unfortunately I don't have Hidden Power Electric on Slowbro, so it looks like Ice Beam could potentially be a 2-hit KO with the Sandstorm up, but it's not a guarantee. But I do decide to just go for it. Toxic wasn't the best option, although I did think about it, but then there was the chance that it could miss, or he could have decided to taunt on this turn, so that would have been really bad if he did go for the taunt. So here he Earthquakes, and I do apologize, he actually Dragon Dance back there, which still surprised me. I still thought he would taunt, and the Earthquake surprised me as well. I don't know if he knows Slowbro's OU set, the set that Slowbro uses, but anyway, Ice Beam does just enough damage to get the KO with the sand. So a huge threat is gone, and he is going to bring Jolteon back in on the free switch. He's got the Gyarados Jolteon offensive combination, really classic. It goes all the way back to the advanced days of Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, but I actually just realized it here, even though I saw Jolteon already. But this was excellent because I decided to go to Heatran in case he predicted the Hippowdon switch in, because that would be really obvious. And in case he did want to lock himself in the Shadow Ball, and he does do that, I figured if he had Hidden Power Ice or Grass, he would have used it by now. So, judging by the damage, I thought initially that this was actually Scarf too, since Scarf is specifically useful for catching offensive Dragon Dance Gyarados that are jolly and have one boost. But you guys will actually see if that thing is Scarfed or not. I really don't know, because he could have gotten minimum damage or what have you. So knowing he'll switch, and because he doesn't want to stay locked in Shadow Ball, I'm going to double switch to Hippowdon. Even if he stayed in for some crazy reason, I figured Hippowdon wouldn't take too much damage from an unstabbed Shadow Ball, even if Jolteon is Specs. So he does end up going back to Heatran, and he does lock himself into the Flamethrower. Reasoning why he went back to Heatran is he's probably thinking that I would try to finish Jolteon off with a Lava Plume and try to get he was hoping to get a boost, but no dice for him there. So I did fear the Fire Blast, but when I did see Flamethrower, I breathed a sigh of relief, because even though I'm around, Hippo was around 70%, Overheat might have been a one-hit KO, so that worked out excellent. I was able to slack off all the damage. He is going to switch out here and go back to Swampert, and I just go for the slack off just to scout who he wanted to switch into. So things are looking pretty good for me. I'm playing pretty good actually now, but I have to decide what to do here, because Swampert still isn't on a timer, and here I actually start to think about the possibility of hacks, because up until this point he hasn't really gotten any all match except for a good roar earlier. So I can win the damage race here, and the reason why is because I have slack off and Swampert can't heal itself, at least not reliably. But I really start to think about hacks here, because he does go for the Ice Beam and he switches to Earthquake just to see which one would do more damage, I'm guessing. But Freeze would really suck here, because it looks like Hippowdon's going to be really useful against the rest of his guys, or at least two of them, and possibly the one he hasn't revealed yet, which when you guys see it, it turns out Hippowdon does well against that too. So those things are beyond your control though, as far as freeze hacks though. So, but I was so worried about that it actually dictated my switch there to Fortress, but he just roars me out and I get roared back into my Hippowdon, which is pretty unfortunate. But it's nothing too bad, it's not too big of a deal, but I was trying to get my hazards up to try to at least, if I could force Swampert out, put it back on a timer somewhat. But Fortress does get dragged out again, because he does roar again. I went for the Earthquake back there because I didn't want to go for Roar and then get frozen before I got a chance to do it. So I figured it's a chance to get a free layer here. I actually thought about spinning, but I go with Spikes in the end. He does make the obvious but best play and goes to Heatran to force me out, as multiple layers at this point would murder his team, including his last guy. But I am going to go to Hippo because I know this is Scarf Heatran, which is less scary for this team than other variants. The worst it can do is Flamethrower, which would be a 2-hit KO. But then I can go back to Heatran for the Flash Fire boost unless he double switches. He does Earth Power, hoping to bait me into going to my own Heatran, seeing as I had Fortress out to try to get a Flash Fire boost. But at this point I'm just not falling for it. So I just go for the Earthquake here, figuring I could hit whatever switched in. I figured if his last guy was a levitator or flying type, he would have went to it by now. And I actually thought it might have been a grass type because I already saw Swampert and Heatran. I was thinking maybe Celebi. But him switching back to Swampert made me realize that his last guy can't really take an Earthquake either, because he would have went to it, which is fine with me. So I still haven't put Pert on a timer, so I'll just settle for the damage instead. Now I'm thinking about switching here because I just wanted to get a better matchup than what I had here with Hippowdon, and I still didn't want to introduce the possible freeze hacks into the situation. So I am going to go to Slowbro, predicting that he will Ice Beam actually, but he makes an excellent play here, and he's actually going to go for the Earthquake. And I did this because I figured Slowbro would just straight up wall Swampert and I could just get a Toxic on it. Either that or at least get some damage with Surf. It turned out to be a really bad play on my part, and it worked out perfectly for him. I may have survived 2 Earthquakes, but I didn't factor in Stealth Rock damage when I was thinking about him, the possibility that he would Earthquake back there. So unfortunately I am going to have to leave Slowbro in, and he's going to definitely finish me off with the second Earthquake. And I was thinking about saving Slowbro for later for Death Fodder, but I just didn't want any other guys taking any damage. I figure I keep them healthy, so now I have to hope that I don't need Slowbro for the rest of the match. So now I am going to reveal Venusaur on the free switch. Now my plan here is to bait Heatran to come in, based on him not wanting to risk taking a grass stab move and Swampert getting one hit KO'd. He does go to Heatran. I do go for the Sleep Powder and it does hit, so that worked out excellent. I figured even if he stayed in, his hand would be forced because Swampert would go to sleep and I could just Leech Seed the switch in next turn. So I know he's Scarfed, so I am going to show that I'll show the Leech Seed, figuring he was going to switch out, but he doesn't. He actually stays in, so I'm guessing he's going to try to burn off the sleep and hopefully wake up. Maybe he figures I can't do much to him, or even if I had something like Earthquake, Heatran was Death Fodder at this point. So now this is why I always talk about minimizing hacks and not introducing it into the game. I went for Protect because for one, Leech Seed would one hit KO anyway, since he decided to stay in and try to get the second turn wake up. The other reason was if he did get the second turn wake up, he would lock himself in the Flamethrower. I didn't even expect Explosion, honestly, but that made it all the more sweeter. But he's now finally going to reveal his last guy on the free switch, which is a Tyranitar. His thought process might have been that my last move is a Grass Stab, and although it's super effective, Tyranitar has the special defense boost in the sand. So I thought this might be a Dragon Dance set, so I went for the Leech Seed just to get it on a timer, and he actually Sleep Talks predicting my Sleep Powder, so it's not a Dragon Dance set, it's actually a Curse set. Now here I thought I could play mind games with him by going for the Sleep Powder again. Sleep Powder now, since not many people want to overpredict twice in a row, but unfortunately I miss and he does get his first curse up. So now I'm going to go for the Sleep Powder again on this turn, and this time it is going to hit. Now it's funny because when this Tyranitar first came in, I did think about Flamethrower or a Fire move or an Ice move if it was like Tyrannoboa or a Lore set or a Mixtar, but it's not the case. So Sleep Powder does hit, but he does predict that, and he goes for the Sleep Talk, knowing I'll go for the second Sleep Powder, and he gets another curse. Attacking was an option, but if he's got Sleep Talk, you know he's got Rest, so he could just rest off the damage. So that's why I just went for it again, just to put it on random turns instead of a Rest Talk cycle. So at least now he doesn't know when he's going to wake up. So maybe somewhere I will get a free turn, but this is getting pretty scary because he just keeps cursing up and he keeps getting cursed with Sleep Talk. So he's now at +3. So I'm gonna have to deal with the situation. Since he's not on a timer yet, I can't force it to rest with Toxic. Slowbro's gone. I could have gone to Fortress here, but I did decide to go to Heatran because I figured I need to roar right now instead of trying to set up with Fortress, letting him get to +6, and then he still could possibly one-hit KO me with Payback, which is most likely what his attack is. I've never seen Earthquake on a curse set, so especially not one that has Rest Talk. So I do roar it out and I do get his Jolteon. This time I will decide to go for the one-hit KO with Lava Plume, knowing that this Heatran is very specially defensive, so I can take a Thunderbolt, and that did a lot more than I expected. So that basically debunked my theory that this Jolteon might be Scarf. It's definitely Specs. So he is going to bring Swampert in here, but he's actually going to run away, which actually surprised me because honestly at this point it was a toss-up as to who would win. So I mean, I get the win, but at the end of the day it probably could have gone either way. I did have the advantage. It was just came down to whether or not I knew I had the advantage while I was playing this game. But anyway, it was a great game. ChrisTheMaster717, I know you're now known as CBrizzle717. Hope to play you again sometime, and guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and Chun is out. Peace.